Rochester Press Box is brought to you by Salvatores at the Garage Door on 49 Ridge Road East in Irondequoit. Rochester's Choice winner for Best Pizzeria, featuring Wacky Wing Wednesday, John Ditullio Trivia on Thursday, and the Super Slice. It's as big as your head. Games are always on at the Garage Door, home to the Rochester Press Box. Hello everyone and welcome to the Rochester Press Box here from Salvatores Pizzeria at the historic Garage Door on East Ridge Road in Irondequoit. I'm Bill Pucko. John Ditullio from WHTK joining us as always.
Billy.
13 WHAM News, Mike Catalana.
Good to be back.
And it's a pleasure to welcome back the Senior Professor of English at the U of R and an accomplished author, Curt Smith.
Bill, great to be here.
You have a book coming out. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, it'll be out in the spring. It's a biography of my former boss, the former President George Herbert Walker Bush. And the good one. The good one as opposed to the bad one, but that's another story, and or another book in this case. So, you know, I hope he likes it, and it'll be out in May to coincide with his 90th birthday, if you can imagine that.
Excellent. He's got quite a story to tell, war hero and everything like
True
that.
enough.
Well, Curt is also an accomplished baseball fan. We're talking a little bit about the World Series. Our disadvantage of shooting this as we do, recording this on a Wednesday, we don't know how this thing came out. We've got through 5 games. But your overall impressions of what's occurred in the postseason and how this sort of impacts baseball in the long run?
Well, I think if the Red Sox win, it's an astonishing rise from the cellar last year to winning the World Series in a year where even the most eager and devoted Soxophile would not have predicted this. It will go down, I think, as one of the great team efforts. John Farrell, the manager, getting them to buy into a concept where the whole vastly eclipsed the sum of the parts. If they lose the World Series and St. Louis wins the last 2 games, I think we will look back at some strategic blunders by John Farrell, the Sox manager, because you look back at this series and very easily the Red Sox could have swept St. Louis.
What do you think?
Well, what I like about it in general is that this is the kind of baseball I think that will play well with the public. Home runs matter. It isn't the crazy, everybody's knocking the ball out of the park. And I think what this is going to do for baseball, and we always talk about football, where everybody seems to think they have a chance. You look at the AFC West this year, where it went from a bad division to a really good one quickly. This type of baseball, I think, brings a lot of teams into the mix. It's no longer pay the guy $300 million and see how many home runs you can hit. Runs matter. Putting guys on base matters. Pitching matters. And I think this is the way baseball can make a comeback where every team starts the year thinking at least they have a legitimate shot to be good.
It's been so crazy. It's been, I mean, fundamentally it has been the best played World Series, but I love it. I love the low scoring. I love the games in the National League because the pitcher batted. We talked about it. I like it. If they did away with the DH, I wouldn't be upset about it. There is something special about having the games being played in the NL Park. And you got 28 homegrown products in the World Series, 18 by the Cardinals, 10 by the Red Sox. Both of these franchises are doing it the right way, drafting these players. Yet the Red Sox spent a little bit more money in tweaking their roster, but I thought with Ben Cherington, what the Cardinals have done, have been an excellent job.
The National League is the only league on the good planet Earth with the designated hitter. If you're trying to attract 8, 10, 12-year-olds, strategy is lovely, but the long ball is better. Yeah. And I would love to see the DH go bye-bye, go the way of the horse and buggy. But what's interesting, both of you talk about baseball and the revival. The ratings have been very good for this World Series, which is not surprising. If you look at the Red Sox and television ratings over the last 15 to 20 to 25 years, Fenway Park by itself has become an enormous television attraction. There's not one way you can get a bad camera angle for television in Fenway, which last year celebrated, of course, its centennial. And to have Red Sox Nation, which has become a global cosmos, if you would, and Cardinal Nation, the Cardinals are the real, it seems to me, America's team, especially mid-America. This was a World Series that almost couldn't fail in terms of public interest. And you're right, the games were riveting, I think, by and large. And so it's a great ticket for baseball's revival, and I think that can be accentuated once baseball actually gets a commissioner who is really alive. It's been a while, and I think we could have a nice change of pace.
You know, in basketball, you could double team LeBron.
Right.
In football, you roll your coverage. In baseball, I don't know what it is. There's like arrogance about pitching to David Ortiz, like Adam Wainwright. I'm going to pitch to David Ortiz. No, you're not. If they pitch to David Ortiz in game 6 or 7, we will know. The Cardinals and Mike Matheny are crazy. Unless you're up 6, I would pitch to David Ortiz. He's that hot.
All righty. The Buffalo Bills at the midway point. This is the Rochester Press Box from Salvatore's Pizzeria at the garage door, and we'll be back. Welcome back to the Rochester Press Box. Salvatore's Pizzeria here from the garage door on East Ridge Road in Irondequoit, home of the best pizza in town. Buffalo Bills, halfway mark, Michael. 3-5. What do we make of this team?
I picked them to go 6-10. They're right on pace, record-wise. I am seeing a change in attitude there. And, you know, I still hear some fans will say, same old team, same old team. If you say that, you're not watching what they're doing. I think Doug Marrone is a guy who is changing the culture there. He doesn't have the players yet to do it. He certainly doesn't have the quarterback right now. Thad Lewis is as tough as Jim Kelly, but he's not Jim Kelly. I'm going to steal from, I think, Leo Roth wrote that this week. But he's a tough guy. He hung in there. We're not seeing E.J. Manuel. They have been beaten up this year, but they are tough. They fight. They don't give up. He's kept them together. I think that'll play out in the long run, that things are changing. Just record-wise, it's going to be difficult. They're going to be right around that 6-7 win mark again this year. But I do see a culture change happening in Buffalo.
It's 8 games in, and I think it's safe to say Doug Marrone is the guy. I don't know if E.J. Manuel's the guy. We won't know that until maybe next year, the year after. Marrone's winning football games with A, a rookie quarterback, and B, a 4-string quarterback. The guy can coach, that's for sure. And Doug Whaley and what they've in the front office compared to what the Sabres have done. Yeah. I know Darcy Regier isn't a general manager at this level, and I don't think Ron Ralston can coach at the NHL level. But the Bills have the right people in place as opposed to the Sabres.
You must admit, though, that when Darcy talked about suffering, he was true to his word.
Yes.
He's giving new connotation to 24/7 suffering. You know, it's interesting. In our prior segment, we talked about the Red Sox buying into the whole concept of team. And the Red Sox bullpen was incinerated at the beginning of the year. There's a parallel here to the Bills. The quarterback position has been shredded even before the season began. And yet I think that Marrone has sold the whole concept of team. And I think records can be misleading. I think this is the best 3-5 team in the NFL. And I say that as a New York Giants fan who would probably give his eye teeth for a season that was actually pointing upward as opposed to where the Giants are, which is in the cellar and probably about to remain there.
You know, Coughlin had that once. And you look at measure of the man, and you look at Doug Marrone, you look at Tom Coughlin, guy from Waterloo. What do you see in those guys that makes them effective at what they do generally?
Well, I think, you know, a sense of rectitude, of character. There's a Supreme Court justice who once said of obscenity, you know, you can't define it, but you know it when you see it. And that's basically presence. John Farrell has presence. Marrone has presence. Coughlin has presence. Bobby Valentine did not have presence. He had insanity, but he did not have presence. And I think that that's particularly true in sports because they're so exposed. And if a guy has presence, he wears well. If he doesn't, he doesn't.
Kurt's point is right on the money. It is not just that, it is accountability, and it's genuine, being genuine to yourself. Players will see through a phony so quickly in the NFL. Marrone holds him to a high standard. He believes it. He supports him. He hits them when they need to be, props them up when they need to be, but it is accountability because he is thinking bigger picture. Again, you got to win games in this league, and he hasn't won enough yet, but I see that change happening.
Well, considering the stiffs that they've had, starting with Malarkey to Dick Geron to Shane Gailey, I love the intensity and the enthusiasm, almost a collegiate type of atmosphere he's created with the Bills.
Who are phonies versus just bad coaches, though? I mean,
well, I would say this, and you know what? And I liked Greg Williams as a guy, but he started out coaching like a phony. Greg got hired when no one expected him to be the coach, and he spent that first year trying to prove to the whole world, including Tom Donahoe, you got the right guy. Yelling, screaming at the players.
Wasn't him.
It did not work.
So here's the question. Is Greg Robinson a phony or just a very bad coach?
Greg Robinson at Syracuse? Oh, he was just a bad football coach.
And he's continued that at every stop since then. Syracuse is one school which wishes that Marrone were twins.
Exactly.
You know?
But, you know, when you say that, that's why when I say with fans, they want a guy to act a certain way. Bill Cowher's Bill Cowher. John Gruden's John Gruden. Bill Belichick and Andy Reid are the way they are. They are that way. It can work either way as long as you're genuine and they hold the players accountable and they accept that, and you can win. I think Marone's on his way.
I think that's true. Jimmy Leland with the Tigers, I don't know if you saw his tearful but extraordinary press conference this week, and this was the real McCoy. This was someone that was multifaceted, someone who could cry, someone who was manful, someone who was loyal to his players, someone who above all thanked 3 million fans who trooped into Comerica Park. And at the end of it, you thought of, I didn't, but you could have at the time thought of Shakespeare when he said, above all, this was a man. And that's true of Jimmy Leland.
All right, like it or not, when we return. Welcome back to the Rochester Press Box, here from Salvatores Pizzeria at the Garage Door Restaurant. It is Wacky Wings Wednesday. You get chicken wings for a quarter. Like it or not, John, David Ortiz for the Hall of Fame at some point.
Good question. It's a very good question. I think the writers, he showed up on the survey list of 03, Dominican, late 30s, we should be suspicious. But I think he's so likable, and there was the story, that his name was leaked. We don't know if he tested positive for steroids. Was it legal supplements that he took? We don't know the full story. Yet, writers or broadcasters won't investigate because Ortiz, I think, is A, likable, and B, if you recall, Manny Ramirez did show up on that list and ended up, I think, testing positive twice after that list. Ortiz is an interesting situation because I've heard writers say they would never vote for anybody who tested positive for steroids. We don't know if he tested positive for steroids, but we know he's on that 03 list, and we don't know why. I need to know why he was on the 03 list, and until I know why, then I think then we can finish the book or finish the story on David Ortiz. He's having a hell of a year, but 37 years old, and he's having his best year, Curt? It is suspicious,
That's a terrible way to approach voting. Guilty until proven innocent.
But isn't that our culture now?
No, it's not my culture, and I'm sure it's not your culture, but you're defending it. Basically, there's not one shred of tangible evidence that has supported any conclusion except that David Ortiz has been clean. Look at his credentials. They're unassailable. He is by far the leading designated hitter in the history of baseball. He has won, as we speak, 2 World Series, perhaps a third, if not this year, perhaps at some point. He is, wait a minute, he has become the grand old man of Major League Baseball. He is the king of New England. He has become the elder statesman, if you would, of the Red Sox. He has become someone who is respected, liked, not pitched to, if you would, by other ball clubs. And the whole body of work with him marks him as someone, I think, you look at him and you say, what reason is there to keep him out of Cooperstown? And I haven't heard one even semi-decent reason not to say yes. And yes on the first ballot to Ortiz for Cooperstown.
Very simple. We won't know until they're ready to vote for him, which is going to be, at least 7 years from now? How many years until he's voting?
Sure.
If there's no different evidence between now and then, I say he's in. But a lot can change over the next 7 years. Somebody has a vendetta, somebody has information, it would come out. If it doesn't, he's gone in the hall.
You know who hopes he's clean? The Hall of Fame.
They need somebody.
He is likable.
They're going to need some gate attractions at induction day based upon
this past Bonds
year.
The whole Bonds thing, I don't think Bonds is technically tested. He just had a big head,
He was not on the survey list.
And we all, as reporters,
got
criticized for not more actively pursuing this when it came around the first time.
Didn't A-Rod never test positive? But yet he admitted to doing it.
He showed
and then
up on
his supporters will say he never tested positive. Well, he admitted to
Roger
using
Clemens never tested positive.
Right.
Wasn't even found guilty of steroid use.
This is the terrible conundrum that Bud Selig, in effect, in reacting to this so late, has left as his legacy. He could have addressed this 10, 15, 20 years ago. He chose not to until he had no choice. And now, really, the overwhelming attitude is guilty until proven innocent.
Yep.
He falls in that gray area.
That's unjust.
I think he's going to be hurt.
Yeah.
And I tell you, it wouldn't surprise me. 5 years after he retires, somebody writes a book and something says, hey, there it is,
Yeah.
I could say this, steroids or not, he's the most clutch, if you want to use the word clutch, hitter in the World Series history. He may go down as the best clutch hitter of all time.
Yeah. Hey, Mike, quickly, just like it or not, $10K for a ticket.
Oh, it's nuts. I would never, ever, ever, ever spend that kind of money. If you have that kind of money, God bless you. Spend it, go to the game. I think it's nuts. Yes, it's a great experience to be there. Do something more productive with your money and watch it on TV.
Oh, never mind, Bill. that they won't allow casinos because they know people give their money to casinos.
Yeah.
But they'll allow somebody to go buy a ticket for $5,000, $10,000. You know, and they probably can't afford it. They'll mortgage everything to go to that game, but you can't even lay down a bet somewhere in a casino.
You're a guy with a lot of loose change. 10K? What would you get for 10K? What would you do
My
with
bank account needs it more than my pleasure does.
it? All right. When we return, we have some unfinished business. To Salvatore's Pizzeria here at the Garage Door Restaurant, historic Garage Door Restaurant at East Ridge Road in Irondequoit. This is the Rochester Press Box, unfinished business. John Ditullio, who has trivia on Thursdays.
Every Thursday here. This is A++ trivia. Don't show up. Don't mail it in. These are tough questions, okay? This is how people should know that.
Unfinished business, my friend.
Well, Mike and I are the two biggest NBA fans going in Rochester, bar none. I am so excited the NBA's back, and I'm going to enjoy this year because next year the landscape in the NBA can look completely different. Starting with the Heat. LeBron could opt out. Chris Bosh could opt out. In New York, Carmelo Anthony could opt out. But going into the NBA season, I think it's the first time in a long time, I can honestly say about 9 teams have a shot at the NBA Finals. 4 in the East, when you look at Indiana, Miami, Chicago, and why not? Brooklyn. My Knicks have no shot. I've come to that realization. Out West, I can look at Oklahoma City, San Antonio, Memphis, Golden State, and the Clippers. To me, I'm just going to kick back and enjoy. Personally, I will pick Indiana, and I'll take Oklahoma City to play for the NBA Finals. That may be a snooze fest in terms of market size, but I am so excited to watch the NBA and watch LeBron, Bosh, and Wade do that. The 90s Bulls, the 60s Celtics, and the 2000 Lakers, the only teams to three-peat in NBA history. They can become the 4th team to ever three-peat in NBA history.
You picking them?
No. I think 3 was either 4 years going to the final, 3 years going to the finals. All the games, I think, will add up, and I think it's going to take a toll. I like Indiana, and look out for Chicago. I go with the younger teams this year.
All righty. Big basketball fan, Curt. What do you got?
I, for one, am not glad that the NBA is back. You can give me hockey, you can give me box lacrosse, you could give me cricket as far as that's concerned, and NBA perhaps. We were talking earlier about phonies in terms of coaches. My prior life was spent in politics where, of course, phonies abound. Baseball, too. Tommy Lasorda, former manager of the Dodgers, comes to mind. Here is a guy who would have profanity-laced tirades in the clubhouse, and then the next Sunday would appear on the Reverend Robert Schuler's crusade. What a phony baloney. And so I say, in terms of this World Series, Mike Matheny doesn't reek of charisma. John Farrell, the Red Sox manager, same thing. But at least they're real. They're the real McCoy. They have some character. They're not phony. Thank God for that, and thank God for a World Series worthy of the great sport of baseball itself.
It really has been a great series. Michael?
I'm going to go to the NBA for a different reason. John knows that, I'm a Sixers fan, and the Sixers are going to be bad this year. By design, their general manager, Sam Hinkie, knows the only way to be good and be one of those teams John's talking about is to get a star player, and the only way to get that player, for the most part, unless you steal LeBron, is to draft the guy. And he has made a conscious effort this year basically to strip the team down, lose games, try to build up some of the young players and get a high draft pick. And guess what? The only people that have a problem with this are people outside of the team and outside of the fan base. Fan base knows mediocrity is the worst thing you can have in the NBA. They're tired of it. They've seen it. They've seen that 8th and 9th seed. It is called win less for Wiggins if you want to get the #1 pick in the draft. They are doing it. They're being honest, like Curt's saying, and the fans are going to respond to it. It's going to be ugly. It'll be ugly for the year, but they hope it's rock bottom and then on the way up.
I was watching a playoff baseball game with my son not too long ago. The Detroit Tigers playing the Red Sox, I think, and Xander Bogaerts came up to bat. And my son is 22 years old. He watches. He says, "Yeah, that kid's younger than me." I look at him and says, "Man, get used to it. That's going to be an ongoing story for the rest of your life." As baseball fans, I think we die twice. The first time is when we realize that everybody in the baseball card set that we collected as a kid is retired. For me, in that 1963 set that I'm only about 12 cards away from actually completing, Pete Rose was the last man standing from that team. The second time we die is when we realize that we are older than everyone left in the major leagues. For me, again, it was Dave Winfield, 1985. I know we found that yours was Julio Franco.
Yep.
And yours, Johnny, was just last year.
Was it Jamie Moyer?
Yeah, Jamie Moyer, just last year. You know, we talk about the end of the innocence, and a lot of times you think, oh, it's a teenage year, somewhere 13 to 15. I'm here to tell you it's when you hit the mid-40s and you realize that there are no more baseball players left that are older than you, and that's when you realize that there really are some things beyond your reach. We record the Rochester Press Box here from Salvatore's Pizzeria at the Garage Door Restaurant every Wednesday at 12:30. We invite you to come down here, join us, watch the show, have some lunch. It's a great place to be. Great job, Johnny. Thank
Billy,
you. Mike,
thank you.
Thanks.
Kurt, a pleasure as always. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.